So S groups at Crown of Life. So we're going to talk about the need. So what was the need that drove this? Our solution that we will implement, and then also what you can do right now. So the need essentially is the need for Christian fellowship. So when we share our lives with a community of believers, we call that fellowship. It's kind of a church word. But fellowship is necessary. God did not intend humans, kind of to do life, as we say at Crown of Life, but they weren't intended to do it on their own. We are designed to be together. So God wants us to be woven together in communities so we can encourage one another as we walk the often difficult path of life, and especially as Christian brothers and sisters. And I do have some Bible references there. I'll send you these slides afterwards if you're curious about maybe some Bible passages that talk about community and sharing life with others. We have them. So, another part of the need that prompted this is that people have ideas and they have ways in which they would like to get together with fellow believers, but it can be intimidating or confusing to organize a fellowship event at Crown of Life. So it's kind of a large ecosystem and a little bit tough to navigate, especially I'm speaking from someone coming in new and not being there, much more than Sunday and some Lent or Advent services. So it's a little bit intimidating. So here's my example. You could pretend like that's me. So if I think like, oh, I want to host a picnic brunch after church in Egan this summer, then I start thinking like, but who should I invite? I don't want to leave people out. How would I even invite those people? How do I get into the building? How would I communicate last minute changes? Maybe if there's weather. And where do I find things in the kitchen? That's a big question. So all those questions pop up, and without knowing who to talk to or without having a good way to do that, usually I think that's where some of the ideas stop because there are a lot of obstacles in the way. So our solution is S groups. S groups, here's like your textbook definition that I made up. S groups are a structured approach through which Crown of Life members and friends can create, host, and join fellowship activities. So the S, where does the S come from? The S is for spiritual groups. So these are different in life groups in that, yes, the spiritual part and life groups will fall under that, is one aspect, but then there's more. So this is like your sermon study, answering those sermon questions, or reading a book of the Bible, or maybe a book about the Bible or about a biblical principle. Another type of group is service. So this would be, I put a picture of a raking person. Maybe you have a neighbor or there's a congregation member that really could just use some hands to help. That would be a service S group. You can have people come and help out, volunteering, food pantry, all those things are a good way to serve the community, and also members at Crown of Life. The third S is social. These are just kind of fun things. Maybe you want to go start like a hiking or a walking group. That would be a social group. Maybe you want to, right now, actually, there is a Wednesday morning park play date that happens for school-age children and preschoolers. That would be a social group. It's just a chance to get together and do things for fun. And then obviously all of these two, like the service and the social, there is the Christian aspect in that you once again are sharing these things with people from Crown of Life with same beliefs. So you have that Christian fellowship. The final one was kind of not a last minute ad, but a belated ad, but skill. So some people in our congregation, many people have varied skill sets and things that they would love to share with others. I would love to learn more about like car mechanics. So if someone would do that group, that would be great. Or it's a group of people going to learn something, like maybe everyone's taking a painting class or a ballroom dancing class, something like that, to kind of differentiate skill from social. Some other things about them, they are for Crown of Life members. And then by friends, I mean people who are not like official members of Crown of Life. So this is something, invite members, and then members invite other people. This is meant to be community building and the chance to invite everyone to come enjoy activities together. Group leaders, or maybe we could call them like group hosts or facilitators, they can specify attendee guidelines. So if you have a park play date, you can say this is for families who have children between the ages of 3 and 7, and then the caregivers can bring the people. Maybe you would want to do like a retirees only breakfast or women ages 30 and 40 hiking club, something like that. You can specify that if it makes sense for your group. And then another thing I didn't put in here, which I should have, is like a maximum number. So if you're hosting something in your house and you think that 10 people is comfortable, we set a cap at 10 people, and that's where the admission or the enrollment would stop. These can be one-time or recurring. Maybe you want to do a one-time event. Maybe you want to do something every week, bi-weekly, once a month. Whatever cadence you prefer, that can be arranged through S groups. Here's an example of one. This was done at my past congregation, but this would be considered a spiritual S group. The book is called Spirituality of the Cross. They met on Saturdays 4 times. So that was their plan. It was for ages 13 and up, 12 people max. So you can kind of get an idea of the information given. It gives some information about the group, who's the facilitator, and then this one had a cost. They asked people to purchase a book before they met and bring a refreshment to share. So that was that one. And then another example, this would be a social one. They did a do-it-yourself dinner club. That one was for adults 21 and up, 10 people max. They said singles and couples are welcome. Don't worry if you can't read this. I know it's really small. So the idea was just food and friends, and then they had 3 meetings. In the first one, if you want all the details, in the first one, the men cooked Italian food. The second one, women cooked Asian cuisine. And then on the third one, they had teams that cooked French cuisine. So that was definitely a social one. I'll explain a little bit about the timing. So it's pretty structured. It's not a free for all essentially. So there are different sessions. There are 3 sessions per year, which you'll see later, but then in each session, there are different phases, which is what we call them. And, kind of the words for these, everyone will get familiar with. But the first is the planning phase. So a Crown of Life member has an idea, they think of an activity they'd like to host, and then they submit their plan. I put optional here because it's optional. To be a part of S groups, you don't have to host or facilitate an event. You can just show up for an event and enjoy it. And that's when you would come in with the promotion. The promotion phase, we've gathered all of the ideas during planning, and then promotions, the S groups are posted. And it gives, 3 or 4 solid weeks for people to sign up for activities, to invite others. This would be a time too, maybe if a group didn't have the attendance that was expected, we can, kind of just save it for the next session. That doesn't generally happen, but it has happened before. So this is the promotion time to get people to join your group. And then there's a meeting phase, which is much longer. It's about 3 months. So during the meeting phase, S groups are in action. The session activities, ignore the number 3, but session activities happen during that time. Once again, that's kind of when you decide during that meeting phase, do we want to meet once, twice, weekly, whatever works for your group. Here's a big calendar view. Some of you might love this. Some of you might be like, wow, this is a lot of color and words. So let me direct you to look at session 2, because technically that's where we would be. So we're at the end of June. So we would be in session 2. From middle of March to middle of April, people would have planned their groups. Mid-April to mid-May, they would have promoted them. And right now we're in the meeting phase. So I'll show you a little bit more later, but we do have a few social groups that are running right now. I mentioned the Wednesday morning play dates. That's been set up, since we've been here, probably longer, for Wednesday mornings. So that kind of will now roll under an S group so that people have access to it easily. So there's that Wednesday morning. We do have a block of seats for a July 27th St. Paul Saints game. So if you're interested in that, we're kind of, we're not in the promotion or signing up stage, but it is open because we just kind of want to show people what they're like. You, as people who are first viewing, you'll have access to that sign up if you would like, and I'll send an email after this meeting. And then there's another, Inver Grove Heights has like a food truck and music days. So that one's on there. You sign up. It's free unless you buy food, but just show up and listen to music with other Crown of Life people. So just kind of giving you an idea. And then there is some overlap, which is shown on the very bottom one. So mid-July to mid-August, session 2 is still running, but that's when people start planning for session 3, which you can see the blue color there. So if this does not make sense, that's totally okay. As we kind of get into it, it'll be very obvious. We have an S Groups website page, which I'll share in just a bit, but it'll kind of tell you, hey, we're in this phase. You cannot submit your group ideas yet, but just wait, it'll happen in, right now it says it'll happen mid-July. So what you can do right now, you can connect people to fitting S groups for them. So it's just a matter of being able to say, if someone has little kids, you could say, hey, there's a Wednesday morning park play date. Does that work for you? Did you know about it? Something just as simple as that. As there are more opportunities and more different types of groups and activities, then you just keep it in mind when you're talking to people, especially newer people. Like I said, you can join a session 2 S group now. This is a little snippet from the site. There, like I said, play dates, St. Paul Saints game, food trucks, and music. We're using, you can see it says see all social events on Eventbrite. That is the platform we're using. It's not perfect. It's a little bit clunky, but we're going to work to make it as smooth as we can. It's nice because it notifies you before your events too, and just in case you don't have them written down. Another thing you can do is be an S group ambassador. So kind of more, not just connecting people to S groups, but maybe formally raising your hand. It might mean wearing like a pin or being in a certain location on Sundays after services. But just being a go-to person. So it's not just, 4 of us and everyone's asking the pastors the same questions or me the questions, but having more people spread throughout the congregation in different areas, different social circles that are able to answer, the fundamental questions of S groups. So that's the way you can help. We'll get our session 3 S group submissions will be between July 15th and August 15th. So if you want to be one of those first S group hosts, that would be amazing. And I will contact you next week with more of the asks, like, hey, which one of these did you want? So start thinking about that. It could be something pretty simple. We just want to get people who are ready to share and host an activity, a fellowship activity. When those come out, you can also help us out by joining an S group. Having submitted this type of thing before, it's a little bit, you're kind of putting yourself out there like, here's something I love. And then you're like, I hope somebody else likes it too. So when other people sign up and are encouraging, it really is, it's a great feeling, and you just feel more normal. But yeah, so it's good to join as a participant as well and encourage our brothers and sisters in Christ that way. More like technically and getting into a little bit of the details, if you are someone who knows how to unlock and disarm the campuses and then also lock up again and set the alarms, if someone has a group on a location, either West St. Paul or Egan, we will need people to help with that. We don't want that to be a hindrance. So there will be chances that arise. If you are someone who can do that, you can sign up for that event to be there and help out with those types of things. Another one, if you either know the facilities well or you're really good at asking a lot of questions and writing down the answers, we want to write up some how-tos, like how to use the kitchen, where are things, what can I use, how to use the gym, the facilities, what are the rules, what are the things we can do and can't do. So like I said, either maybe you know those really well. I do not. I would be someone who will just ask a bunch of questions to the people who know and just document it somehow so that we have that available to people. And then finally, the ask is just to give feedback. If there is something that you see and it doesn't make sense, or it seems like a hindrance, or you're like, this could be done better this way, please give that feedback, because if you're feeling that way, I'm sure many other people are. And I really want to fix those things instead of having people not make use of S groups because of, something not important. So feedback is always great. You will not hurt my feelings. And if you have comments on my graphic design, I welcome it, because that is definitely a weak spot for me.